What's up everyone, Michael here with another topic video. Today we're going to talk about Warmaster Edition of Darksiders, which is the remaster of Darksiders. So if anybody's curious how it performs and everything like that, that's what we're looking at today. So right now I'm playing in the background. This is actually the Remastered Edition, which is essentially a re-release of the original. If you're on PC, then you actually get the Remastered Edition for free, so it's not like you have to buy it twice or anything like that. If you didn't own it before, though, you do have to buy it. And on console, if you had the 360 version, you ain't getting it on Xbox One. Same thing with the PlayStation version. So technically, it's a re-release for the new consoles, which I actually think is a good thing because, quite frankly, this is an awesome game that really didn't get as much popularity, I think, as it should have, because it's actually a pretty awesome game. That said, it's not aging very well, but let's talk about the actual kind of port slash kind of upgrade of the game. So what is the Warmaster kind of edition? Now, originally on console, I'm going to talk about console first since this was essentially released for console. The original ran, I believe, at 30 FPS and had dips and things like that, and the graphics were pretty dang terrible. Now, it looked very similar to a very early kind of 360 game, and it played pretty well. Like, it played pretty modern for when it came out. Like, it's very fast and fluid, and it feels good to play. But at the same time, the graphics weren't there just because of the hardware, and the PC port definitely was not particularly great either. It had a locked resolution, it ran at 60 FPS, and it had some very nice scaling shadows and everything like that, but the UI was very kind of pixelated and artifact. It also has these cutscene things everywhere, which you can't skip, which is super annoying. But hey, that's old design, we'll talk about that in a minute. Now for the Warmaster Edition, which is essentially Enhanced Edition, what they did is they actually took the rendering engine and made it so that it has a lot better shadows, and they up-resed all of the textures and redid pretty much nearly all the textures in the game. Now, that doesn't include all of them, and there's some very nasty textures you'll see here and there. The original game did not look great when it came down to the textures. It definitely looked pretty terrible, and it was very, very noticeable, especially on modern hardware when you started upscaling and stuff like that on the resolution. It looked pretty dang terrible. However, now, the textures have actually been upgraded quite a lot. Like, it looks maybe not quite the quality of a modern game, but it is definitely up there in quality, which is kind of nice. Also, it also seems to load a lot quicker for me, although I do get these weird kind of camera glitches, but I think those were in the original game as well. The original game had a ton of glitches, and this is my main complaint with the new kind of Warmaster Edition, is that they didn't actually fix anything, which is kind of frustrating. Obviously, it's not one of those things to where it's like going to ruin your experience, because it is still technically better than the original game, because, you know, hey, better textures and everything is pretty nice. But there's still some objects that don't cast proper shadows, such as, you know, this chest here. You know, you see that it's in one sort of environment shadow, but then you also have a player shadow that stacks on top of it. And they didn't really add shadows to a lot of things, which means that a lot of objects and some textures as well just look out of place in the Warmaster Edition, while in the original they didn't, because everything looked at that low quality. So there is that to kind of look at. Overall, it actually looks quite a bit, you know, nicer. I think that it definitely enhances the experience in a sort of sense. If you're somebody that cares about graphics and stuff like that, it makes the world feel a lot better, especially trying to play it nowadays. The original is kind of hard to play for two reasons. One is the fact that it looks so outdated. I mean, you know, when you play it now, people will say, oh, it looks like a PS2 game, although it doesn't. It looks better than that. It looks like an early 360 game. But it was not a pretty early 360 game, and therefore it kind of had a lot of textures that just, you couldn't even really tell what they were. It was just kind of like a mesh, and it was like, all right, cool. You know, and this version of the game, it definitely makes it look a hell of a lot better. The particles are also better as well. But it doesn't actually modify the model. So if we look at like this kind of vinage here, you can actually see that it is definitely a 2D image. And so there's a lot of textures that, while the textures do look better, the overall quality of it doesn't actually improve. And this also goes into the lighting, to where some objects just do not have the lighting capability that you'd kind of expect from that texture quality. So some textures will kind of like blend improperly when you get into certain areas of the game. There's one section oops, wow, I just fell into lava. There's one section very early in the game to where the rocks kind of go at a weird angle, and you can definitely see the newer texture kind of not blending properly with the kind of way that the mesh goes. But that's just kind of problems with high-resolution textures on older style games. I mean, we saw a lot of texture mods for like older games and stuff like that that have those sort of problems just because they weren't designed to have these higher quality textures. So, you know, but they did a decent job with it. You know, the kind of main character, the main horseman guy, actually looks pretty good. A lot of the enemies and bosses look a hell of a lot better. You can actually tell what they look like now, you know, it's not just kind of a blah sort of feeling to it. Although I gotta say, the other problem with the original is the fact that the gameplay was kind of getting dated, and still is. I mean, it's still a great, like, old classic action game. Like, it's an action adventure for anybody that's wondering. It's kind of like a Zelda-esque sort of game with a nice combo system similar to God of War or Devil May Cry, which is actually pretty fun, so you got multiple weapons. It is definitely more simplified than those, but they do have those systems regardless. Let's see if I can make it over here. There we go. But it is very much a Metrovania sort of action-adventure game, and it is actually quite good, but the gameplay does end up suffering over time, because it is very, very repetitive. You unlock new combos and you unlock new weapons, but at the same time, these new weapons and these new combos don't really evolve the gameplay beyond the basic loop. So you're mostly going to be doing, you know, this, what you see in the background, and a little bit more variety. Now, there are different weapons and there's different items. You can pick up items and use them as weapons as well, which they don't necessarily have a lot of in the early game. Also, another point about the Remastered Edition is that the saves don't seem to carry over. Now, I had the original Darksiders installed for the sake of I was going to go back and beat it, and then they actually released this version behind my back, and I'm like, oh, hey, you know what? Okay. And since I have it on PC, I got the new one. Anyway, so I'm basically replaying through the game again. What do I got to do here? I don't remember. I think I got to go backwards and find some door or something like that. We'll do that. But once again, you know, I was going to be beating the game, but now I'm very early in the game because it didn't seem like my save crossed over. And I don't know if that's just because of my system, if I screwed something up or anything like that, but it doesn't seem like saves cross over, which is kind of unfortunate, you know. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a problem with my system, though, because it seems like it runs on the same engine, and it is essentially the same exact game with upgraded textures and stuff like that. Now, to kind of give a conclusion to that, you know, is it worth it? God damn it. This is another problem with the gameplay is that, you know, it has a lot of archaic design inside of it as well. And so there's like, oh, you know, you got to have your specific camera angle and your specific kind of pointing with your controller and everything like that. It's so annoying. There's also these cutscenes that automatically happen all the time whenever a door opens, whenever a new enemy appears, and you can't skip them, which is super, super frustrating. And I was actually getting super annoyed because early on in the game, it happens a lot. And there's one section to where it gives you a griffin and you got to fly on a griffin. And that griffin section takes way too long. It's kind of like a mini game, except it takes like 24 minutes to get through, which is ridiculous. But regardless, that's just old classic game design. So like if you're looking at this game, it is pretty good, but is it worth picking up the enhanced edition if you don't already own the original? Or if you own the original, you know, on 360 or something like that, is it worth picking up on the new console? I would argue that's really going to depend on your specific setup. Now, for me, I'm on PC, which means I just got the, you know, original one for free, and I believe the Remastered Edition is actually pretty cheap. So if you're looking for, you know, to play Darksiders, it's not going to be more expensive than the original ever was. So it's actually pretty good. Here's a door I needed. And so basically, you know, on PC, sure, go for it. You know, you may as well play it if you haven't played through it yet. Sure, if you haven't picked it up yet, then Darksiders is definitely a game that I recommend. However, if you never, like, if you already played it on, like, let's say a 360 and you're moving to Xbox One or PS4 or something like that, it may not be worth picking up again. And I make this argument because the only improvements are actually the textures and some more kind of quality of life things. Now, I don't own an Xbox One or PS4, but in a second here, I'll show one little thing that annoys the hell out of me about this version. I have disabled two certain effects. Oh, and on PC, this actually has scalable resolution, so it goes up to 4K, and the UI actually scales properly. One annoying thing they didn't fix, though, is that the mouse pointer is always in the center of the screen when you go into a menu. You can move it, but if I exit this menu and then go back to it, the mouse is still there. That annoyed the hell out of me. The game also still has a memory leak like the original PC version did, which is also super annoying. So basically, it's the same exact game with better textures and better lighting, and it has these post-process effects, which I'll turn on now. Now, I play with these off because they just look bad. So the vignette effect just makes it darker on the edges of the screen. In certain areas, you can definitely tell that it's a lower resolution than your render resolution. It looks like it's a 720p because it's very artifacted and just looks like an image that was placed on top. Now, I don't know if that's a rendering bug with my current driver or not, or if that's, you know, actually how the game renders it. And then the chroma effect just makes it so that things on the edges of the screen have a slight color distortion and blur effect, which I absolutely hate that effect. Now, some people are going to like it. Some people might make it, you know, seem more cinematic and stuff like that. But when I'm playing this game, I'm not necessarily looking for pretty graphics and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I was playing the original, which is actually pretty old. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. So there we go. I'll do a side-by-side comparison in a second once this guy's dead, because I believe I only have to fight him, and then he's dead. There we go. And then we'll just cut off his arms and cut him in half. Glorious. Do I have to fight more of those, or can I do it here? All right, so we'll do a little comparison here after this unskippable cutscene. Seriously, those are super annoying. Can we just get rid of those? Thank you. All right, so we'll do it facing this way. So I'll go ahead and have my character standing here, all big and buff, and then we'll go in here, and I'll do a side-by-side comparison. I don't know how I'm going to do this in post-editing, so we'll see. But, you know, you can actually see on the sides of the screen, like, if you end up comparing them next to each other, it's quite obvious what it ends up doing. So there's that. I don't like the effect. Some people might. I don't. I turn them off immediately. Now, the reason I mention that is because I don't know if on console you can end up turning those off, which might actually, like, if it distorts your eyes as much as it distorts mine, you may actually prefer the old version, because I'm not a big stickler for graphics. Yes, I like pretty graphics, and that's great, but, like, for most people, you know, maybe they won't. And once again, like, if you've played the game before, there's absolutely nothing different about the game. The game is exactly the same. It even has all the same glitches and all the same bad artifacting and things like that it had before. And so it's not like the design has gotten any better. They didn't add any content. They didn't change any of the combos. It does seem to load quicker for me, and I don't know why. Particularly, the first game had a few technical issues that seemed to be fixed in the way that it kind of loaded textures and things like that. I had pop-in and weird kind of loading stutter in the original. However, that doesn't happen in this version. Now, that may just be because I'm running on a different system than I was for the original, so that could end up being one of the cases. However, the new Mastered Edition actually has some problems on PC, so if you're looking to purchase this on PC, do keep in mind that it actually has a lot of problems when running on AMD cards currently. And so if you're running on an AMD card, it actually has a bunch of rendering glitches, and it does not perform the way it's supposed to. However, on my NVIDIA system, it's running flawlessly, and I'm not having any problems with it whatsoever. There we go, gotta give this lady her sword, and then she's all happy about it. So overall, I'm happy with the, you know, kind of upgraded edition. Yes, it didn't really fix anything, but it did kind of update the game to look a lot better. I mean, it even has self-casting shadows, which is kind of nice. I mean, the older version of the game, characters looked fairly ugly, and this one kind of helps, but also at the same point, there's not a lot of animation fixes, so the animations are still buggy. The voice acting is still atrocious, except for the main character. The horseman sounds just as epic as always, and so there is that. And the gameplay is exactly the same. So overall, it's a decent upgrade. So if you've never played it, this is definitely the version to play. But if you have played it before and you already completed the game and everything like that, it's not really worth coming back to unless you were really looking for that nostalgia trip from it. Overall, it's just, you know, kind of one of those things. It's like, cool, you know, it's on newer consoles for people that haven't played it, but for people who have, it's there, I guess. So, you know, there's that to keep in mind. I think I gotta blow that thing up. Let's go ahead and give him a bomb. Anyways, that's kind of an overview of the new port and everything like that. Now, there are some technical issues that the devs are supposedly fixing, and so some of the issues may end up getting fixed. I'm having no problems with the port whatsoever. I'm only going off of what people said on the forums, so it seems like AMD cards are the main thing having problems and stuff like that. So if you have an AMD card, maybe don't pick this up. If you already have it on PC, though, you get it for free, so you may as well try it and see how your performance fares. Oh yeah, and on console, the new version actually runs at 60 FPS, which my friend that has it on console says that it runs amazing on console. So yeah, I guess if you've never played the game or you enjoy it a lot, then there you go. You know, it's good on console. On PC, for my NVIDIA machine and everything like that, it runs flawlessly. It's a very lightweight. And so, yeah, I think it runs about the same weight as the old version, actually. So that's kind of impressive. Anyways, this has been Michael with a topic video. Today we were talking about the Darksiders Warmaster Edition. God, that is such a weird and terrible name. But regardless, yeah, there's also a remastered edition for the second game as well. Oh, geez. Get off of me, you evil demon plant. There we go. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. There's also a remastered edition for the second game, but if you're looking for info on that one, you're going to have to check somebody else out because I don't actually own the game. So, yeah, I own the first game and that's it because I haven't beaten the first game. I'm one of those people that likes to play through one game and then go on to the next. But anyways, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if there's any other games you want me to check out, make sure to send them my way. I also run an Impressions review series that you should check out. My latest review, I think, was of Monster Super League, a fun little mobile game. So do check those out. And also, if you guys have actually tried out the new port of it on PC, you know, if you're having problems with it and stuff like that, make sure to leave it in the comments because, you know, I can't test everything. I only have one machine, and I've only played through a certain section of the game. Now, there is one problem with the save system to where you go to your pause, you go to data, and you go to save game, and you automatically defaults to this first slot. I accidentally saved over my first slot. So one of the areas that I actually wanted to show was the plant area of the game, which is actually the next section after this. And quite frankly, I'm kind of getting bored of the game because there's a few other games that I'm playing right now that I was enjoying a lot more than this. I'm currently playing through a lot of JRPGs. And then I had to jump into this game to do this video because I was actually excited for the remaster. I was hoping for some gameplay fixes and they didn't, so a lot of the stuff is just kind of annoying me at this point. But yeah, anyways, it's actually a pretty good, you know, Warmaster Edition. The original is already fantastic, so this one is also fantastic, if not a little bit dated. Now, you know, in a year or so, I probably wouldn't recommend picking it up, but, you know, right now, it still holds up decently well. The combat is getting dated, but hey, it's still a fun experience. Anyways, thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Yeah, take that, you block. You deserved it.